everybody. I'm sitting down with Braxton Cosby, who is the author among like the other jobs, it looks like.
Right. How you doing? Thanks for having me on, Adam.
Good, yeah, definitely. Thanks for taking the time. You have a new book out, Sneak Peek, Flight of the Starship Concorde. But before we do that, I kind of like to do your like writer's journey, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
And really, before we get into writing, it looks like you do a little bit of everything.
Yeah. So by day, I'm a physical therapist, and then by night, I do my writing. I also dabble in some acting. I've done some production. I'm a voiceover artist. I do all of my novels myself, and I'm also a publisher with my wife. We publish over 50 novels.
Wow.
Total of like over 30 authors, and we do them in ebook, paperback, and audiobook format. So it's really cool. You know, I just love the production of books, taking somebody's idea and then saying, hey, you know, where do you see yourself going with it, and what do you want to do with it? And then just kind of putting it together and finally producing this book that has these really cool covers. We take our time with our production. We really want our covers to look like the industry standards, not like an indie. Even though we are an independent publisher, we're a second tier publisher, not too small, not too large. We get lost in the shuffle, but we really try to make sure our products look amazing, and the authors have been very well pleased with what we put out.
Yeah, that's very cool. I don't know how you have time for it all, and still, you've written, 16 books yourself?
Yep, this is my number 16, yep.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, you make time, somehow you squeeze it in. It's a hustle, definitely, for sure. Not a lot of idle time of just sitting back going, man, what am I going to do today? There's always like, okay, I could probably work on this, I could probably work on that. But if you really love what you do, your passion just drives you. So it's pretty simple after a while once you get the hang of it and just file in the time of the day to make sure I'm doing this at this time, I'm doing that. And you just prioritize.
Yeah, okay. That makes a lot of sense. So with a background in physical therapy, you have a bachelor's, master's, and doctorate. It's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Personal training, sports nutritionist. What sparked you to start writing?
So I think it was back in 2010. I was, pretty much well gone in my professional career doing whatever. And I was actually at church one day. And I remember the pastor was preaching, and he said that he felt like God was talking to him and saying that there's some people out who were in the church that day that could be doing something else, and had we really asked God, okay, I'm doing this, what about something else? And I just started praying, and then all of a sudden I just kind of heard that voice in my head, like everybody said, write a book. And I'm like, write a book? I had never written a novel, but obviously with all the schooling I had done essays before and things like that. So I thought I may have had the acumen, but I didn't know if I had the talent for it, But I remember sitting there and I was like, well, what would I write on? And I just kind of heard God saying, hey, I'm a big movie buff. I love science fiction, obviously. And, sometimes when you go look at a movie and the movie will be over and you're like, man, I kind of wish they did this with it. It would have been cool if they did that. He said, put all that stuff in your book. So I was like, okay, I can run with that. So I started kind of penciling in and jotting down right there in the pews an idea or a concept for a book series, which people say is insane. You don't start with a series. You start off with one book, and then you're happy, and then you say, okay, what do people think? But I had automatically put together this series, which was crazy. And I started just kind of putting together the plot for the entire story arc. And then I went home and started researching on how to write and put together a novel and outlines and creative writing things. I put all those tools together, and before you know it, that's where I was. And after 3 months, I had a 90,000 word manuscript, just kind of going, okay, now what,
Wow.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, that was it. And man, I mean, it has been a journey, I put a lot of my personal experiences and stories from other life walks. I talk to a lot of people all the time, and they kind of share their stories with me, and I take those ideas and blend them in. So I make this stuff real world. Yes, it's fictional, but I think people just connect with the characters because of how real the stories are within the world that I created. So it's been a journey. It's been fantastic. And I did, like I said, I finished Star-Crossed Saga. That was books 1, 2, and 3. When I was done, I went back and I did the novella for it just to kind of build up to the first book and give a little more background on the main character, William, and his journey of being this prince bounty hunter from another galaxy who's on a mission to kill this star child on a planet that he ends up falling in love with. And then now he's got to choose love over duty. And so I want to give a background to him and how he first got started as a bounty hunter and going against his father's wishes to kind of go on this first mission. And I introduced some real cool characters in there. Steel Rain was introduced in the novella. He came back in the third book, became a really huge figure. And I was just kind of sitting around going, man, I think really would be cool if we can kind of flesh him out a little bit more. So that's what I did with Steel Rain, which is the book that I'm featuring today. I'm out here in I'm out here in Tennessee, Chattanooga, at Con-Nooga. It's a big sci-fi kind of cosplay anime convention. It's always a great crowd, and we always do well. So I'll be premiering it here. So yeah, I wanted to flesh him out. I wanted to give him some bones and some structure, and we kind of get into his backstory and the new story that he picks up on right after Solstice, which was the third book of the Star-Crossed Saga. We pick up right there where he's now on this mission a year later, and I won't give it away. And then we just kind of go with his story, and then you have these flashback moments where you're really capturing all that kind of created him. And I just think it's my favorite book. I think every time you write, you want to make your next favorite book. And I thought that was difficult because I really fell in love with Solstice when I finished it, especially because it was the culmination of that first series. And then I ended up doing some other things with some superhero novels. But Steel Rain really became my new favorite book, so I'm pleased with how it came together.
It's really cool that you kind of gave yourself an access door to a sequel, but also a whole new series, probably without even realizing it at first.
No, I didn't. And, in my mind, my next thing was like, I think as a writer, you keep wanting to kind of challenge yourself with new books. I've written a health book. I've written bios of three prominent figures. I've done science fiction, Christian fiction, superhero fiction. So I was always kind of challenging myself where I would go next. And I kind of just landed where I started and said, hey, you know what? I fleshed out this world of Proxima Centauri, this galaxy. Why not continue to play in it? And that's where Steel Rain came back in. And I've got a larger series that I'll be writing. And he's the segue or the glue between Star-Crossed Saga and that one I'll start writing on this year. I call it like a Game of Thrones in space, if you would imagine. Okay. And he's the connecting piece to it. And so it gets really gritty. It's a lot more hardcore sci-fi, which was really exciting to write,
Yeah. So you finding that your audience from your first series is following you in characters?
Well, I think that's the hope. This one just came out on February 2nd. So it's out for a couple of book awards as far as I've submitted it as well to get some recognition. And, like I said, now we're going to start really reaching out. I've got a few people who've picked it up already, and we're just continuing to push. I completed the audio book on it, and that is in its final stages of approval. So when that comes out, that'll be huge because I really like the way that came together too, kind of continuing to push my acting talents into voice acting, which is basically what you're doing, but you give all the characters the voices and you really kind of push yourself as an actor just in audio form. So it's cool. I just love the way everything came together. And the cover is I'm in love with it. It just really came out nice.
It really does pop. And doing the audiobook, it's really cool. You have the ability to do it yourself because no one knows your work better than you, obviously. The greatest voice actor ever is not in your head.
That's right, yeah. And the characters, I knew the intonation of their voice when they spoke. I know the setting. I know at the time window of when they're first, coming into a scene. So I know the tone, I know everything. So it comes out so pure, right out of my head and through the pages.
That's definitely really interesting. I like that. The characters are probably, talking to you in your dreams.
Yeah, a lot of times, a lot of times you just lay in there and you just, oh man, I got this scene, I got to go jot it down, or just put a note together just so you can come back to it, or you finish the scene, you kind of go, I don't know. I need to put something back in there, and it just comes together. So
the going back to the manuscript, you said you wrote a 90,000 word manuscript in 3 months. Was that the whole saga, or was that just your first entry?
That was just the first book. That was the first book. Yeah, each book kind of came out to be somewhere around anywhere between 90 to 100,000 words each book. So They're pretty large. Yeah.
Yeah, but 3 months for your first novel, man, that's impressive. It was definitely, it's definitely sailing.
It was, I just kept it going. I kept writing, man. I couldn't get away from it, I would tell people, my time to write was sometime between 11 and 1 o'clock at night, and I would close up shop at 1, so I could wake up, do the whole parenting thing, husband thing, and then get back to it again, after work. So I just couldn't stay away from it. And once you get a good outline, man, if you're really good at putting together your outline, the story just hums, it just sails along. So
just get to have fun with it, yeah. Explore. I read, I think it was on your own website, that you kind of coined the term sci-mance for your first saga.
Yeah. Sci-fans, sci-mans kind of a thing, it's a blend of science fiction and romance. It really came down to percentages. I think the first book is really about those two characters, Sydney and William, and them connecting. So you do get a lot of the romance piece, because obviously they've got from two different worlds with two different agendas coming together and connecting. So that I had to really write that in to make sure that the readers got the connection. So I would say, if I broke down the percentages, I think the first book would be like 60-40, 60% romance and sci-fi about 40. Then we kind of break even on the second one, actually probably a little bit more, 40-60. And by the time you get to the third book, man, it's like 80-20. I mean, that science fiction is all over the place. These huge worlds and landscapes and set pieces, and the technology really picks up, and you have these huge space battles. So it gets really, really cool. So I'm excited about it. Obviously every author wants to see their work go to the screen, but if that book ever got to the screen, it would just be amazing.
No, there you go. Does Steel Rain kind of follow in that path where you're getting more into the sci-fi?
Oh, man. Steel Rain is like 99% sci-fi action. I mean, it is, balls to the walls action, and a lot of great character building. You take this rogue spy / bounty hunter on this mission, and now he has to have a crew, which he's never done. He's always been a solo guy. So that dynamic of him trying to trust people and them trusting him, and then a couple of twists along the way, of course, you got to have those in there, kind of just really carry the story forward. And, Steel Rain is just one of these hard bounty hunters who you just fall in love with his story, I think, especially his background.
Yeah, for sure. Where do you get your inspirations for the science fiction part of it? Is it just things you're a fan of, or do you do deep dives into science, where it could go?
Yeah, I love science fiction, so of course I'm a Star Wars, Star Trek fan, all of that stuff. But with that being said, you want to make something original. So I used a lot of the technology that we have as physical therapists to create my own weapons and gadgets and things like that. So it's totally original. You won't see lasers and lightsabers. I use hydrogen-based weapons and electromagnetic shielding and things like that. So I just wanted somebody whoever picked up the book just really got something fresh across the board, that they didn't feel like it was a rehash of anything else they had written or seen or read before.
That's a really cool angle. I never would have guessed, taking your physiology and life sciences and putting them into a science fiction. That's a really cool idea.
Yeah. So it was fun, again, because I know this stuff, because I use it every day. So it's like, ooh, this would be really cool. So I think it came together nice.
That's awesome. I'm kind of blown away by that, because I never would have put those two things together.
Yeah. I think when the best writing is just organic. You pull something from yourself, whether it's experience, whether it's just, something you've read, something you've studied. And that way it's fresh, and you don't feel like you're kind of researching something and trying to make it fit, So that was just what I did, and I'm just grateful that it all came together well.
That's fantastic. It's really exciting. I think it's awesome how you just dove into the deep end and started with a saga, and then did another, I don't know if you called it a saga, but I know your follow-up series was another series, not just a book.
Right.
And another one on top of that. So you want to get into those at all, or?
So I did spin off. So I started superhero fiction. It was really cool. Again, it's just the stuff you love. And it's like, man, why didn't I write this a long time ago? I was actually a comic artist back in the day, like high school. And I put together this little comic, it's like 20 pages. And I, put it away. It was like, I never do anything with it. Just wanted to have an idea. And, years later now, we're starting to see like the superheroes pick up. And my thing was really trying to get young men and young boys into reading, because we just don't read. Girls buy this stuff all day, and the boys are kind of like, I like the pictures, that's cool, and that's about it. So I wanted to get younger guys into reading, so comic books was like the great avenue, and making a comic novel just seemed perfect. So I came up with this concept with a friend of mine. He was writing a superhero series, and we said, man, let's just blend our worlds together, Then we have another author who's a part of Cosby Media Production. So we've got Io Champion. His series is The Majesties of Canaan. And then we have Keyshawn Dodds. He has the Menzuo series. Then we had Dan Payton, and he's got the Bark series. And then we had Lawrence St. John, and he has the Metatron series. So what we did is we took all the authors and we branded them, everybody, all the teams that they have, or the solo superheroes, all have their own logos and emblems that you can recognize. And then we just kind of, after I wrote my 2 series on the Cape, books 1 and 2, we said, hey, let's kind of do a mashup, combine this universe, because they're kind of mentioned in everybody's books. We kind of mention each other a little bit, so they're all in the same world. But then we started with Infinity 7, which is the other book that I have here today. And that combines my characters from the Cape, Keyshawn's Menzuo, and the Majesties. They all get together. So that's book 1. Book 2 will kind of build on that, and then by the time we get to books 3 and 4, we'll bring in our authors, Dan and Lawrence, in with their characters. So it just continues to grow, and it gotten a lot of great feedback. I think Infinity 7 won like Literary Titans Book of the Month award.
Wow.
And the Cape has gotten recognition as well with Lit Pick Book of the Month. So we're just excited that we're putting out stuff that people like.
Yeah, and you like the writing process with a team just as much as going solo?
Yeah, there has to be, like, whenever you do a team effort, there has to be one kind of chief to put everything together. So what I did, using my background in screenplay writing, I put together the outline and kind of sent it out to the guys, and they checked it and looked at it. Was like, oh, this is really cool. This is dope, And then we kind of put all our characters. So we just chose a chapter. And every time we wrote the chapter, we'd be like, hey, would your character do this? What would your character say during this? Is this natural, authentic to how that character behaves? And people go, yeah, it is, or I would tweak something. So we started doing that, going back and just tweaking things. And with Infinity 7, man, I think the book, it was this colossal book. It's like 400 pages of superhero action. You got over 14 superheroes in it. So I'll tell people, hey, for the most bang for your buck, man, jump into that one. You can always go back and get the solo series, if you want to read more about your favorite character in the novel. So that's where we are with that. And we're just continuing to set up the next outline to start with book 2 now this year.
Oh, yeah, you're really not not resting on anything, are you?
No. I took the month of February off from writing, but I'll be back in it again in March.
Well, yeah, but now you're doing the book tour thing, so you're just as busy.
Yep.
That's really cool. Well, I know you're at a convention right now, so I don't want to take up too much of your day, but if you want to tell everybody where they can find you and your work, I mean, I feel like it's everywhere, but...
Yeah, absolutely. So Braxton Cosby is my name, author. You can find my website at braxtoncosby.com. You can check out all of the offerings that we've talked about. I mean, we've got everything. We've got fantasy fiction, science fiction. We've got business. We've got money managing books. We've got biographies. We have self-help books, everything you want across ebook, paperback, and audiobook format. You can check that out at Cosby Media Productions with an S.com. If you want to just kind of check out my sci-fi series, you can go to theredgeminichronicles.com, and all those links are kind of piggyback off of my braxtoncosby.com website. And if you just want to follow me, you can catch me on Twitter. It's at Braxton A. Cosby, or you can follow me on Instagram, Braxton A. Cosby, and finally on Facebook, just look up Braxton Cosby. and you'll be able to catch up with me there. Put comments, anything you guys want, just hit us up. I'd love to hear from you. And, we're always interacting with our fans and prospective readers and writers. So just hit us up.
Especially for work.
Yeah.
Good luck with the book and everything. I'm sure we're going to send some people your way, so it's very exciting.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, and make sure you hit me up with your mailing address, Adam. I got a steel rain with your name on it.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. It definitely will.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I know you're a superhero and sci-fi fan, so I think you'll dig it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks. All right.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks a lot.
Good luck with everything. Bye.